How many of us has accepted Jesus? Well, I scattered a whole lot of people out of here, didn't I? But how many of us have asked Jesus into our hearts, but we just don't feel clean? And we still think we have stuff on us. You know what? You're all right. You're perfectly all right. Because you know what? We're a work in progress. I'm not saying that you intentionally sin. I'm not saying that, but you're going to mess up. It's called life. And sometimes some of the stains are pretty hard to get rid of. And the stain is the sin of life, but they're hard to get rid of. Now, all week long, well, I won't say all week long, but this week I was pressure washing the church. And, I knew it was dirty, but I didn't know how dirty it really was until you start putting that pressure on. Sometimes we don't know how messed up we are until we start trying to get rid of it. And the thing of it is, I was washing it, and then all of a sudden I'd look up, there'd be another little spot right there, another little spot, and I'd have to go back and wash it again. See, sometimes we repent, and then we have to go back and repent again for the same thing, because the devil is always going to try to bring it back on you. Now, I'm going to be in the book of Luke today and then in Isaiah. But if you'll turn to Luke 11, we're going to kind of jump around in Luke 11, and it's not in it's not in order. And then Isaiah, we're going to kind of read it backwards a little bit. But while I was out here, and here we're getting excited about revival, supposedly. You know what? Everybody in the world's talking about the revival that's going to come. Can I say, I don't believe that. I think revival's already started. Because you have such a great falling away of people that were believers. There's a shaking going on. And you know what the main problem is? We have too many things to look at. You can get on Facebook or Google or Twitter or X or what all these things are, and there's somebody who's got an opinion. You know what I found out? This opinion never changes. Now, like me, I take things and I'm going to change a word in here, but it means the same thing. And the word is I, the I. But if you look it up in the Hebrew, it means perspective. Looking at all things. Seeing the total package. But when you read eye, we're just thinking of the eye gates or the ear gates. Because it says what goes in the ear gates or the eye gates or the ear gates is what goes into the heart and comes out. But if you'll go to Luke 11, and I want to read this real quick, starting with verse 29, and then we're going to jump a little while. And it says, and while the crowds were thickly gathered together, he began to say, this is an evil generation. It seeks a sign, and no sign will be given to it except the sign of Jonah the prophet. We now are wanting to see a great revival. We're wanting to see a sign from heaven. Which last year, and we had all these eclipses coming through, and it crossed all these towns named Salem, which means peace, and then it came up through Jonah, and then went up all these things, and that's a sign. But we're looking for a sign. We're looking for a parting of the Red Sea. We're looking for a Jordan encounter. We're looking for a Jericho march. Well, God doesn't really repeat much because he says, remember what I've already done. But this generation, this woke generation, even your churches are becoming woke. You're hearing all this stuff, but We don't even praise the way that we used to. I'm saying, if we don't have the signs and the lights and the smoke on the stage, we'll go and chase somebody we don't even know because they have a big ministry. I heard a pastor say the other day, I was at McDonald's Lumber Company, and he's a pastor, and he says, I want to build a mega church. I'm like, why? You shut down during the pandemic. How can God bless you with something big when you closed something small? He says, well, that was the problem. We were small. And I said, but if you can't be trusted with something small, how can you be trusted with something big? See, do you realize this generation right here is the generation that we're going to see the coming of the Lord? Oh, but grandma said that and great grandma said that and everything. You know what? I'm looking at the sign, and it's not all blessing. It said that there would be a great falling away. Now, we're going into our 19th year here. And you know how you get them things that come up on Facebook? All the memories? Well, someone would come up and I'd look at it. Where are all the people that started with this church? Seriously. Because they didn't like it. They didn't feel comfortable. Or Pastor Yogi offended them. Or Pastor Yogi told them that their holy genes up here on the platform wasn't acceptable. Some people left because of me. Some people left because they were uncomfortable. I had one tell me just a couple weeks ago, I'm just not feeling it in here, brother. I'm just not feeling it in here. I said, well, you look, I'm sorry that happened, but I go, the door swings both ways. I go, you might want to go find you a place that's comfortable. Because he was so upset, and in fact, it was the day I fell out up here. He was mad because he saw some people sleeping. It took him completely out of what the service was. Now, I can honestly admit, I don't remember a whole lot that day. But we had video, and people have told me what went on. And if you were a paratrooper, you would understand, really, when I fell up here, I did a PLF, called a parachute landing fall. Because I was on my feet, I went to my knees, went on my butt, went on my shoulders, and I was down. This old habits are hard to break. But what I'm saying is, revival starts within you. But it said right there, it says, I will give no sign except for the sign of Jonah the prophet. What did Jonah do before the great revival? He ran and hid. But what did he do? He came back. You can't get something until you go forward into it. You're not going to get that ooey gooey feeling until you exert yourself. You can't get cleaned up unless you go under the pressure. I loved the car wash yesterday. Now, I got there late intentionally because I said, oh, well, I'll just load stuff up on my trailer to bring it back. But these kids would swarm a car like bees on a flower. They were missing spots, and they were just going around, and two of them were doing cartwheels, and they was just having a good time. And then I was looking at the van, and Miss Chrissy goes, I believe they missed a few spots. I said, I mean, they lost a lot of spots. And then they were washing the same spot over and over and over. But there was dirt right here, but they was cleaning right here. See, sometimes we don't see the stain because we have stains in our eyes. And when they were doing it, it was like me pressure washing. I didn't realize how dirty this place was until I started cleaning. I came up here just to do the porch and the steps because my wife was saying, it's nasty. Well, when I did that and I looked over there, I'm like, okay. Then I'm doing that, and and I did that and ended up doing the ramp and wouldn't believe the mud that I pushed off. And then I got the bright idea. I said, ooh, I got some super clean at the house. So I brought it out and I sprayed the awning. They went from gray to white. Well, if you do one, you got to do the other. So if you got one sin, you get rid of the one sin. Then you got to do another sin. It's the same as washing the car. You just don't wash the wheels. You wash the whole vehicle, front to back. And what I was getting out of them kids, they were swarming. How come we won't swarm on people in the church? You've been saved for how many years? 16 tomorrow. Well, then you're old enough to know, right? You're old enough to know. But when you're in a struggle, how come the church won't come together? I've been saved for 18 years, 19 years. But I'm the pastor. If I put out, hey, I'm struggling with something, I'm going to have people come. Why is that? When we ought to be treating everybody the same. But this generation says, if you can't give me something, I'm not going to do it for you. But God says the ones that are done in secret are the ones that are moved to the front. The sign of Jonah is meaning that God was going to use somebody who had so much hatred and so much disregard for the Ninevites, he just walked away or floated away. But God can use a terrible thing to make something just. Because when he came back, revival broke out. Now let me read the next verse. Verse 30. It says, for as Jonah became a sign to the Ninevites, so also the Son of Man will be the sign for this or to this generation. The queen of the south, which is the queen of Sheba, will rise up in judgment with the men of this generation and condemn them. For she came from the ends of the earth to hear of the wisdom of Solomon, and indeed a greater one than Solomon is here. We will chase after somebody to get their wisdom, when all the wisdom you need sits right there in that book. Now, don't get me wrong. I like it when you tell me, hey, Pastor, that was a good sermon, or, and I look on Facebook and see how many people watch. But you know what? If you're not receiving from me, I'm doing this in vain. But I'm doing this from my heart. I believe she's doing it from her heart, that we want to see you rise above us, not beneath us, but to come above us. Now, as we read that, as Sheba, she came from the ends of the earth. During revival, people are going to come in this building who don't know nothing. And the church needs to accept them. Not just because they look good or they look like they got some change. It don't matter. Whoever they are. Now, if Miss Angie needs help, we need to help her. If Brandon needs help, we need to help him. But definitely these ones that are coming in, we need to put time to. You guys went to the beach for vacation. You went to the beach for vacation. And stuff happened. But were you showing the light of Christ? And I agree with you. Don't tell your business to everybody. And they mean well, but they'll pray you into the grave. They will pray you into the grave. When I had my aneurysm, I didn't tell a whole lot of people. I wanted people that were encouraging and lifting up, And then afterwards, I found out somebody knew laid on the same table, same doctor cut them, and they didn't come off the table. See, I didn't need to hear that beforehand. I needed to hear, oh yeah, you'll be fine. We're going to wrap this, stick this, and you'll come out and go away. I mean, that night, I ate a whole box of chicken wings. Wasn't supposed to, but I was ready to go home. Heather snuck me in a pizza, because that food there was terrible. But the thing of it is, if I knew all the sickness and all the side effects, I'd have never had the surgery. And I may not be here. But when you were at the beach, you're sitting there with your family and you're minding your own business, but you're talking. Others are listening. See, they're wanting to seek wisdom. The Queen of Sheba, she came to seek the wisdom of Solomon. But right there, Jesus says, but I'm even smarter than he is. Because see, he is the one who knows things. So I'm going to read on a little bit further, and then we're going to go on. And it says in verse 32, it says, the men of Nineveh will rise up in the judgment with this generation and condemn it. We're going to be judged by the past. This generation is judging us by what we've already done. We profess to be a Christian, but then we go drinking with our buddies. We confess to be a Christian, and then we spitefully gossip about somebody. We profess to show the love of Christ, but we hate this person. We gossip and we judge and we come against people. Hurting people hurt people. We get mad because a family member has said something to us. And we might have a squabble, but you don't throw them out. But the church will say, you got to go. You didn't get healed in time. You must not believe. No, that's not true. You keep going back. Well, you know what? I hope you come back. If you mess up, you come back. But we're so quick to judge. I don't care if you've been saved for one day or 400 years. You're going to mess up, but you still come to be encouraged and lifted up. This building means nothing. It's the butts that are sitting in the seat. Let's just get the rubber meets the road. I mean, we're so judgmental. I just don't understand why we do it. Because this is the reason why. Go to Luke 11, verse 14. And it says this, and he, Jesus, was casting out a demon. And it was a mute demon. I mean, he kept his mouth shut. So it was when the demon had gone out that the mute spoke, and the multitudes marveled. But some of them said, he cast out demons by Beelzebub, or the evil one, the ruler of the demons. Others, testing him, sought from him a sign from heaven. A miracle was just done, and now they want to see a sign. We've had miracles right here. But, I just don't feel it in here anymore. Maybe you're hindering what God is doing. It was pretty neat. Now Teresa's dad had a heart attack. That man was great. But he came back to life. We had a pastor up here, or a bishop, I don't know, a bishop. He went out. His wife was a nurse, looked at Pastor Helen and said, he's gone. Pastor Helen hit him right on top of the chest. He gave him that fivefold ministry right there. Reached out and gave him the hand of God. He hit him, and his feet started wiggling. And he came back to life. That was a Friday night, and the ambulance come right down through here and picked him up and said, you need to be praying. Man, we've been praying. What do you mean going to need to be praying? And then what did he do? Come back Sunday and pray, or play the keyboard. But you need to see a sign. We got to understand what's going on. You take a bunch of little miracles and you start adding them up. Guess what? You're going to get a big miracle. But it says this, They wanted to see a sign from heaven. Verse 17. But Jesus knowing their thoughts said to them, I love this. Every kingdom, and I'm going to change that, every church divided against itself will be brought into desolation. When we separate ourselves, and the world wants us to separate. We got the blacks over here. We got the Indians over here. We got the whites in the center. We got the Baptists up close, and we got the Pentecostals back because they make so much noise. Quit separating. Because when we go to heaven, if you don't like sitting next to somebody, change your seat. If they're sitting in your seat, don't tell them to move. Sit down and give them your name. Ask them how they're doing. Because you know what? You don't know. They might be the one that encourages you that day to get you to do something. Or you might be the one that encourages them. But we want to be divided. We want to be separated by status. I have yet to see a U-Haul on the back of a hearse. You ain't taking your stuff. Where your heart is where your treasures are, is where your heart is. But he says, don't lay up treasures on earth here. I think I'm supposed to read that, but I'm going to say it anyway. Don't lay up your treasures here on earth where they can rust and rot and moth in them. But lay them up in heaven where you can get more. Because while they were at the beach, I'm sure they talked about the Lord. I'm sure it wasn't every moment that they were there. But they talked about the Lord. But I guarantee you somebody was listening. If it ain't nothing but these babies. But see, we get so confounded. Well, there you go, Pastor. You get religious on me. That's your job. No, it ain't. It's Ron's job to minister. It's your job to minister. It's Elizabeth's job to minister. Well, how can she minister? Because she believes God's going to heal her and she's going to be able to run and walk, so she doesn't accept the words that they say over her. And she's not rude about it. She doesn't say, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Devil, you got to go. You don't do that. You just under your breath say, I'm not accepting your words. I'm sorry. I love you, but I will not let you stop my blessing. But see, they were coming against him, and it says this, that they would split or brought to desolation, and a house divided against itself will fall. How many of us have anger issues against a family member? How many of us have got mad? And you know what? That's what the devil wants. Look, it don't do no good. Especially if you're the one mad and the other one doesn't know you're mad. You're losing sleep over it, and they sleeping all night long. Anger is one letter away from danger. We've got to get beyond that. We've got to learn. Look, we're going to have disagreements. I love her with all my heart, but I don't like her all the time. Especially when she throws my ice cream out. Or she tells me I've done something and I don't know if I've done it or not. See? And seeing Heather, it depends on who she's liking at the time, takes Arthur's side. The thing of it is, why don't we just give it back to Jesus? I'm learning that. I'm getting better at that. But it says there that a house divided will fall. That's why marriages are coming apart like they are. No one's willing to work it out. It's your fault, though. It's your fault. Guess what? It's both of your fault. Marriage is not a 50-50 thing. It's 100 and 100. Man, when I was growing up, you got divorced. People like, now it's like, hey, yeah, I've been through 3 of them, 4 of them. I know some marriages aren't meant to be. It's like I was sitting down doing her, and I was weighing up my ones that are successful and ones that hang. I was like, God, I'm about 50-50 on my wedding and divorces. And I was like, man, this is terrible. But it's so easy to walk away now. It's so easy to run. I don't like what the pastor said. Then you get over there and that pastor says, and you're this one there doesn't, and you're running. That's what's happening. But if you get planted, did you? I've used this once before. I used this once before. Shut up. They're God's light. I'm the one that fixes the stuff around here. This is the church. I think I've used this before, and it wasn't my idea, but I loved it. This is the church. This is called a nursery pot. If you don't like something, you pull it out right there. Pot still there. You're the one that's out there with no nourishing and no nothing to it. But if you stay and keep bouncing around, there we go. But if you stay planted and you stay in the nursery, your roots will never grow. You're confined. And what it is being just in the chairs. You're confined. But if we can get you out of this nursery pot, your roots can grow this way, and your roots can grow that way, and then you'll start going. And even better, if you're planted by a river, even in a drought, you still have resources. That's Jesus. But see, a lot of us want to stay in the nursery pot, and when we don't like it, we just pick up and so now I'm going to go to a little nursery. And that's worse for you because now everybody sees you. But yeah, if everybody sees me, I'm getting my attention. But if you're not getting taught, you can't grow. If you can't grow, what good are you? You're still saved, but you're carrying your junk with you everywhere you go. If you don't get set free from what you're doing, you're going to carry it with you everywhere you go. So I want to be planted in a house that's going to let my roots grow. That's why we want people to get involved. Not judging, not having you judge. Because I'll be honest with you, I make mistakes. You know, I'm no better than anybody else. I mean, I wish I could preach like Kendrick, or I wish I could preach like David, or I wish I could preach like this one and that one, or even like I wish I could just come up with the scripture like Pastor Helen does. I can say something like I do. She goes, "Oh, that's 1 Corinthians 7:14." I'm like, "How did you do that? I just read it. I didn't know where it was at." But you know what? God has a purpose for me, as He has a purpose for you. Because see, but when this Niviite generation comes up, and really, if you look at these are the people that were saved in Nivea, and they only lasted for about 100 years, and they fell back to their old way. See, if we don't keep teaching these babies, these young ones, we're going to lose our way. That's the problem with today. They're not being taught the word. See, and when you're going home and you say, "Well, I just don't agree with what Pastor Yogi said," you know, you just planted a seed. You just planted a seed. What was it you said yesterday? Mama's always right. Somebody was asking to do something and Mama said no. Well, they didn't like it and they were fussing and kicking about it. And she did her job. Because I come tripping by and I said, "What do you mean? What? Who are you talking about, Mama? What? What's going on?" She goes, "Well, mamas are always right." I said, "Yeah, even when you're as old as I am, Mama's still right." I mean, I've been married a long time. Mama's still right. I can be right, but Mama's still right. I want to finish this out real quick. Verse 19, he says, if Satan, verse 18, if Satan is also divided against himself, how will his kingdom stand? because you say, I cast out demons by Beelzebub, which is the devil. And if I cast out demons by Beelzebub, by whom do your sons cast them out? He's talking to the Pharisees, to the religious people. Whom do your sons cast out? Therefore, they will also judge you. But if I cast out demons with the finger of God, surely the kingdom of God has come upon you. This is our strength. A demon cannot pass or cannot, I got to say this right. You can't deliver a demon if you have a demon in you. You can conjure a demon up. You know the old saying, don't worry about the speck in your brother's eyes, but the log in your eye. You ever been sitting in a room, somebody walk in a room, and you go, ooh, something twinkles you? Something familiar about that person? See, you're looking at the speck because they got a piece of wood in their eye, and you got a beam in your eye. You both have wood in your eyes, so you're lining up together. Pastor Yogi, I don't have that problem. Do you not? Maybe a little pride. Hey, we have all these wicked, nasty sins that we have. Lust is a bad one. But what about the sins of gluttony? What about the sins of gossip? Is that just as bad? It is. So a demon can't be, be cast out. Yeah, there you were. I couldn't think of the word, cast out. Can't be cast out by another demon, but by the finger of God. And guess what? If you're saved and you believe Jesus Christ was born of a virgin, got up on that cross, went to the ground for 3 days, and came back up, now sits at the right hand of the Father, you have the same authority. You have the same God. But you got to believe it. Because here's what it says here in 20. If I cast out demons with the finger of God, surely the King of God has come upon you. When a strong man, fully armed, guards his own palace, his goods are in peace. When the devil has you, he knows how to hold you. This is where it gets good. Verse 22. But when a stronger than he comes, which is the Holy Spirit, upon the evil one, the devil or the demon, and overcomes him, he takes from him all his armor which he trusted and divides the spoils. When you walk in your authority, doing it yourself ain't going to cut it. But when you walk in your authority and you take that demon and you say you must go, he has to go. But if you go, well, look, Pastor Yogi said that you have to be gone. It ain't going to work, folks. My authority don't work on you, but the authority of Christ. See, those who know Christ, you ain't getting set free, or you don't have authority. Those who follow Christ. It says, those who oppose me are against me. One of the commandments of God is to tell people what Jesus has done for you. We're getting close to the part where I'm fixing to change stuff. It says this in verse 23. He who is not with me is against me. And he who does not gather with me scatters. What is gathering with Jesus? Coming to the house of God to lift one another up. I ain't gonna sing a song. But when we come together, when we have a men's meeting, when we have a women's meeting, when we have a yard cleanup, or we have a yard sale, folks, if we would all come together. I mean, look, I'm not saying everybody had to be out to that car wash, but if all of us would have went out there and just gave 20 minutes, 30 minutes. How much would that encourage you, baby? Why do I got to give up my Saturday? They don't. I mean, we all get caught up in that. I mean, I've had people tell me, why didn't you call me? And because a lot of times I don't know what I'm going to do till I get up in the morning. She'll say, what you going to do today? I don't know. And I really don't know. All of a sudden, I'll grab my trailer and I'll grab my lawnmower and I'll come up here and cut grass. I might come up here and weed eat one day. Now, if you want to come help or do it on your own, hey, it's all yours. I'll let you do it. I'll even pat you on the back, buy you a tank full of gas. But the thing of it is, I enjoy coming up here because the Lord speaks to me. I came up here for one purpose, to clean that porch. And it just exploded from there. But it also, I spend quiet time with God when I'm doing it. But when we have meetings and get-togethers, like, hey, when we have this homecoming, man, I hope this place is packed out. I hope I have to tell every youngin' in here that you got to stand and suck up against the wall. I'll give up my chair for a visitor because I want to see unity, because it says, he who is not with me is against me, and he who does not gather with me scatters. Now, this is my thing. Well, how are we scattering when you don't come? Because you get into a habit. Remember what I talked about a couple of weeks ago? It was his custom to go to the synagogue. Then it becomes easier for us not to come to the synagogue. And like she was talking about this morning, now they're talking about this thing called monkeypox. They want to shut us down again. Isn't it ironic? It's election time. See, they don't want us to do it. And I know you're not supposed to bring politics into church. Well, where does it say that? Where does it say that? That's a man-written law. Jesus covers the government. Jesus says, render unto Caesar what is his. That means you pay your taxes. But if I'm paying my taxes, I have the legal right to vote. If I have legal right to vote, I got legal right to fuck. If you don't vote, you got no right to complain. And if I don't pay taxes, I don't expect to get paid by the state. See, you've got to take care of everything. It's not just one thing that does it. All right. This is where I wanted to get. I read seeking a sign, then dividing the house. Let's drop down there to verse 33. It says, no one, when he has lit a lamp, puts it in a secret place or under a basket, but on a lampstand, that those who come in may see the light. If you're saved, why are you hiding? Because that's where your light comes from. I want to be a light that draws the buzz. I want to draw everybody who ain't saved. I want them to walk by and say, well, what's so different about you? It opens the door to tell them about you. But see, we want to profess it. It's sad when you're a closet Christian. When the LPG, and you know what? We did get Biden to quit. Remember I put that, let's get Biden to quit. It happened. I spoke it 2 years ago. It just took 2 years to happen. The LGBTQ thing, I got Biden to quit. I know it sounds crazy, but that's a prayer answer. And I prayed for the man, but our country is worse off because of him. And I'm going to say this, and please don't take offense on it. Those on TV, you might get upset, but guess what? You know why Obama likes Biden in there? Because he ain't no longer the worst president ever to be out. We got him to quit. Now, if we can just keep the other one from coming in, we'll be all right. But it says this, verse 33. Oh, no, I already read that. 34. The lamp is the body, or the lamp of the body is the eye. Therefore, when the eye is good, your whole body also is full of light. But when your eye is bad, your body also is full of darkness. Now that word eye, don't worry about it. I ain't even going to try to say it. But it means perspective. So it says this: the lamp of the body is your perception. That's what the Hebrew word means. And that word perception means that you examine all sides. You see really what is there. So let's do it this way. It says the lamp is the body of perception. Therefore, when your perception is good, your whole body also is full of light, full of joy, full of goodness. If you look at things in a positive light, speak of things in a positive light, receive things receive correction in a positive light, the whole body will be lit. But when you perceive everything bad, your body is also full of darkness. One of the biggest problems me and her have, it's not what I said, it's how I said it. I have yet to figure out that is dumb. That is dumb. That is dumb. They're all the same, but it's the way I put my emphasis on it. She perceived it. I wasn't calling her dumb. I said, that is dumb. But she didn't hear that. She just said, you're just, okay, it's like my little rat. I see all these things. This dog is not fat, she's sick. If her legs were about a half inch shorter, she'd be starting fires on the floor. But she's hungry all the time. So when we're eating, she'll look at you and just like, you don't love me. You're not feeding me. And then she'll run and go tell on me. She'll go, har, 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 har. If Dink's eating, she'll run to me, har, har, and run to the door. Wait a minute, you just ate. Well, no, I didn't. You know, she perceives that if you're eating, she needs to eat. Why can't we be like that? Why can't we desire to get more of God and less of the world? Because if I perceive the goodness of God, I'm going to be a better person. And I love the Lord with all my heart, and I study and read. I ain't watched TV, and there's my witness to it. I ain't watched TV in 2 weeks. Okay, well, for a week of it, I couldn't help it. It was messed up. But I got used to it. I got used to it. She told me the other day, she said, oh, by the way, I fixed it. And she fixed it, not me. And we could hear sound, but we couldn't get no picture. Well, I can't figure that thing out, you know. So I just didn't worry about it. But now I don't miss it. You know, I mean, I don't miss it. Now I can hear it in her room because she's watching whatever she watches in there. But I don't miss it because I've been reading and studying. Now, don't get me wrong. I've got things on this that I watch. I watch this tractor guy. I watch these people in Alaska, which she won't ever let me go to Alaska. I mean, that was my Army days and they're gone. But what I'm saying is we got to learn what is good for our body. I don't like vegetables. Just don't like them. But they're good for me. I like ice cream. But it's not good for me. So which one do I want? Which one do I going to complain about? You know, but when we read that about the eye, our perspective of life, because it says this in verse 35. It says, therefore take heed that the light which is in you is not dark. See, you can be the most happiest person on the outside and be dark and miserable inside. And whatever is in a man's heart will come out. But where does it start? I said a little bit of it this morning. We bow down to idols. We bow down to the TV to turn it on. or we sit down and we turn it on. We bow down to the iPads or the phone. We bow down to our diseases and our sicknesses. Why don't we stand erect and say, you know what, God, you take care of everything. See, all you got to do is have the name of the sickness. You don't have to accept it, but you put Christ over it. A lot of people say, man, I got cancer. I said, well, let me put a 6-letter word over that. Christ. You know, when I had my stroke, they came into me and they said, you had a stroke. And I remember laying in that bed and I said, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. And then I think it was you that said it. She said, well, did he have grandma seizure? They said, no, he had a full stroke. My face was all drooly and everything else. And then the doctor came in there and told me that I probably wouldn't talk right or speak right and all that stuff. I said, no, I won't accept that. Doesn't mean I didn't have it. Doesn't mean I didn't have it. But I did not have to accept it. And I was told, well, you're in denial. Well, that happened on a Thursday. I got out of the hospital on Saturday. Sunday, she made me stay home in bed, rest. But the following week, she asked me, who do you want to preach for you? I said, I am. She says, no, you can't. I said, yes, I am. I am going to do it. Because I was talking, but I was still slurring a little bit. And I think I was walking pretty good. But I came to church, and on my way to church, I stopped at Food Lion, and I bought me a bag full of lemons. I got me a bowl out of the kitchen, and I put lemons in that bowl. Set me out a little table and put it on there. And my whole sermon was, what do you do when God gives you a bowl of lemons? We made lemonade. And I know for a fact 4 people swear up and down they got healed that day. But if I'd have stayed home and wallered in my lemon juice, I'd have just been sucking on old nasty paper. But I would not accept what they said. When I had my heart attack, I didn't have no choice. All I know is I tasted raspberry, and nobody can tell me what raspberry was. I believe that was the sweetness of you. Because when I come to, all I remember seeing is that bright light, but it wasn't heaven. It was the surgical light. But they cut up a brand new shirt I just got. Mad about that. But if I'm full of bitterness and anger and despise, I mean, she does things that are mean to me. But she says it wasn't meant that way. It's called human life. We've been married 44 years. Huh? Yeah, I said 44. Hush. We've been married a long time. We have different views, but we come together. We work them out. Now, there are times that she's on this side of the house and I'm on this side of the house. And we've drawn a line as we pass by each other, we grunt. See, she don't grunt. She'll go, ugh. I'll say, what's wrong? Ugh. I said, did I do something wrong? Ugh. Okay, we're getting somewhere. And then she'll say, well, you don't care. I go, what do you mean you don't care? Because you quit asking. I got tired of, But if I'd asked one more time, supposedly she would have told me. Just tell me what I did wrong and get it over with. Okay. It says this in verse 36, and then I've got one more scripture to do, and then we can go home. It says, if then your whole body is full of light, having no parts of darkness, the whole body will be full of light as when the bright shining of the lamp gives you light. The bright shining. If you're a good person, people may not understand you. Why are you always smiling? Because it keeps you warm. Why are you always so happy? Because I have joy, the joy of the Lord. I'm not saying that we ain't going to go through struggle. I'm not saying that we're not going to go through problems. But don't let the problem have you. Give it over to Jesus. In Isaiah 64, it says this. In Isaiah 64, starting with verse 1, it says, "Oh, that you would rend or tear the heavens, that you would come down, that the mountains might shake at your presence. As the fire or the light burns the bushwood, as fire causes water to boil, to make your name known to your adversaries, that the nations may tremble, or the people may tremble at your presence. When you did awesome things for which we did not look for." When has God blessed you and you didn't realize it till after He was done? You didn't even ask for it. Go over to Isaiah 60, and this is the last one, and I'm going to change. We started out being in a light. All right? Arise and shine, starting with verse 1, chapter 6. Arise, shine, for your light comes, and the glory of the Lord risen upon you. When His light is what's illuminating you, you will feel different. You will look different. But the enemy's, that's when you shine, he's going to try to buffet you. Here we go. For behold, verse 2, for behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and a deep darkness the people. But the Lord will arise over you, and His glory will be seen upon you. The Gentiles, or the new converts, shall come to your light, and the king to the brightness of your rising. If you're showing the love of Christ, even and more so when there's a problem going on. I was telling Angie and I think Heather or somebody about it today. I was out here cutting, and I've been going up and down on that little 6-foot ladder. You know how many steps are on a 6-foot ladder. Well, then I got out the 10-foot ladder. Well, I knew how many steps to get off. I was about this high in the air, and I thought I was on the ground. So when I stepped off, kaplunk. Oh, I didn't get hurt a bit. Didn't get hurt a bit. And I looked around and no one saw me except for that little Mexican guy that was in the yard there. And he looked over there and he goes, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." But I wasn't, because once I saw him see me, I felt stupid. But what would have done, because I've tried to minister to that man to come in this church. I'm cutting grass, he's cutting grass, and we're doing things. And I'm like that. What would have happened if I didn't know that he was there and I hit the ground and I started going, "Oh, you stupid, furious." And there, would that not been a witness for me? So see, even in your trials, when you're by yourself, there's always somebody with you. Let your light so shine. Let's rephrase that. Let God's light shine in you. I think that's why praise is so important. Because if we can learn to praise in the midst of the storm, because believe me, Ryan would have been impressed with me singing out there. I was just singing my song. I ain't started even writing names in the dirt. And then I'd wash it out. You know what I also did? I wrote down some of my sins, things I struggle with. And I stood back and I said, "God, your Holy Spirit washes it." I'm telling you, if you will learn to be the light, be a lighthouse, be the candle in the dark room, and draw people. Revival is not fixing to start. It's already started. But the effects of it come back. Are you willing to give God what he wants? Can you be the wick in his light?